For the first solve, this is a 102. I first looked on Red and I saw that you could either do U prime, F prime, R, F, which gives this not very good CLL case, or you could do U prime, R, F, R, U prime, R prime, which gives this CLL case, but the solution still doesn't end up being too great. So then I looked on yellow and saw that you could do F prime, R, F to get this bad CLL case, and instead of doing that, you could do R, F, R, U prime, R prime, but it still doesn't give a very great solution. So the way I ended up doing it was I held it here and did U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime, R to get a J prime, but then I canceled into an alternative alg. So the solution was from here, just U, R, U prime, R2, F2, R, U prime, R prime, F2, R2, U prime. This was the second scramble. This solve was a 1.73. The first thing I checked was on yellow, you can do 4 moves into this EG1 case. I also looked on white and orange, and I saw you could pair up a bar, and then from here, I looked at this CLL solution. Basically, you would be able to cancel into the alg, and that's what I ended up going with. So the solution from here was just F prime, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R, U2, R prime, U2, R, U prime, R2. But I just locked up a lot, so it wasn't a really good time. This was the third scramble. This was a 0.90. The first thing I checked was that there was a 1 move into this LS case on green. I also looked on red and saw you could do 3 moves straight into Nicholas with a UAUF. But what I ended up doing was I saw the R prime into LS, but the first move can be an R with one of the algs I know, and then from here I just finished with F, R prime, F prime, U prime, R prime, U prime. But I just locked up a bit, so it wasn't too great TPS. This was the fourth scramble. This solve was a 1.26. I first noticed that there was a 2-move face on yellow, and it gives this not too great EG1 case, but it probably would have been better than the solution I did to do 2 moves straight into this LEG1 with no UF, but I didn't end up seeing that. So what I did was on red, I saw you could do 3 moves into LS by doing R2, F, R2, and then it gives this case which starts with an R, but I didn't end up canceling because it would have been kind of awkward because I would have to regrip, so I just did R2, F, R2 from here, and then just finish with R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime. This was the fifth scramble. This solve was a 1.11. The first thing I saw was that there was 3/4 of a face already done on orange, and I saw that you could insert in 4 moves, but it didn't end up being too great, so I didn't do orange. I also looked on white and noticed that you could do 3 moves into this LEG, so that wouldn't have been too bad. But what I ended up seeing was on green, you can do U prime F, R prime F, R, which gives this pi CLL case, and there's a way of canceling into it. But I also saw instead of that, you could do U2, R, U, R, which gives U prime anti-Nicholas U prime, which would also be quite good. But what I ended up doing, because I thought it was probably a bit safer, even if it's not as fast as the U2, R, U, R into anti-Nicholas, was doing U prime, R, U, R, U, R prime, U2, and then just finishing with anti-Nicholas and a U prime UF. So that was like 13.5 TPS, so I was pretty happy with that turn.